Welcome to today's deep dive, where we'll be taking a close look at James Clear's Atomic Habits.
A book that's, it's become pretty popular.
It has, and with good reason. I mean, it's full of, really practical advice about building better habits.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be talking about,
Yeah.
distilling the most important points
Exactly.
and really trying to figure out how to apply these ideas to your life.
To real life, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what's really interesting about this book, it's not just another self-help book.
Yeah.
It's almost like a practical manual for rewiring your brain.
Uh-huh.
Clear does such a great job of blending the scientific research with real-world examples.
Yeah. And it really clicks.
It does.
Okay, let's unpack some of this.
Right.
And I think one of the most powerful ideas in the book is that tiny changes can lead to huge results.
Yeah.
And Clear calls this the power of compounding.
The power of compounding, yeah. And, it's really fascinating how this works on such a subtle level.
Yeah.
And Clear uses this really good analogy. He says, time magnifies the margin between success and failure.
Wow.
And it's so true. It's those small choices that we make every day, grabbing the fast food instead of a healthy lunch or hitting that snooze button.
Oh, yeah.
It might seem insignificant in the moment,
Right.
but over time, those really add up.
Totally guilty of hitting the snooze button.
Me too.
It makes me think, what are some seemingly small things that I could be doing, that could make a really big difference if I did them consistently?
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? Consistency.
Right.
It's those 1% improvements day after day
Yeah.
that lead to remarkable results.
Yeah.
And Clear really argues that good habits make time your ally,
Ooh.
while bad habits make time your enemy.
That's powerful.
Oh, yes.
It's a really powerful reminder that we're constantly shaping our future selves,
Yeah,
even with these seemingly small everyday choices.
absolutely, yeah. And it kind of builds on this idea of consistency and these tiny gains. Clear talks about something he calls the plateau of latent potential.
Okay.
And have you ever worked really hard at something,
Yeah.
but felt like you were kind of banging your head against a wall,
Oh, yeah.
and then suddenly you have a breakthrough?
All the time. Yeah. I remember when I was learning to play guitar,
Oh, yeah.
it felt like for months my fingers just wouldn't cooperate.
Uh-huh.
And then, boom, one day I could play a whole song.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
That's exactly that.
Yeah.
And Clear compares this to heating an ice cube. You could put in all the work, but it seems like nothing is happening
Right.
until you hit that crucial temperature where the ice suddenly melts.
Okay.
And it's a reminder that progress isn't always linear.
Yeah.
And sometimes those efforts are accumulating behind the scenes and the results just appear all at once.
So patience and persistence are key,
Absolutely.
even when we don't see immediate results.
Even when we don't see
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, to actually change our habits.
Right.
Clear provides this really useful framework.
Okay.
He calls it the 4 stages of habit,
Okay.
which are cue, craving, response, and reward.
And this makes habit formation seem so much less mysterious.
It does, doesn't it?
Like breaking down a complex process into these manageable steps.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
let's break it down.
Okay.
So first we have the cue. It's basically a trigger,
Okay.
something that signals your brain to initiate a behavior.
Okay.
Could be anything. From seeing your phone light up with a notification
Right?
to feeling stressed after a long day at work.
Okay.
And then that cue triggers a craving,
Oh.
which is the motivational force behind every habit.
Uh-huh.
It's the desire for a change in state.
Got it.
And it's not the cue itself,
Yeah.
but the feeling it evokes in us.
Okay.
And then we have the response,
Yeah.
which is the actual habit that you perform.
Right.
It could be checking your phone, grabbing a snack, going for a run, anything.
And then finally, the reward.
The reward, yes.
Yeah.
The end goal of every habit. It's that positive reinforcement that strengthens the habit loop,
Okay.
making you more likely to repeat that behavior in the future.
So understanding these 4 stages is crucial to changing those existing habits or building new ones.
It is. It's absolutely crucial. If any of these stages missing or weak, the habit loop is unlikely to stick.
Yeah.
It's like a chain. Each link is essential.
Makes sense. And, Clear also emphasizes the importance of awareness.
Yeah.
He says you can't change a habit if you're not even aware of it in the first place.
Right. And that's where things get, interesting, I think.
Okay.
He shares this anecdote about Japanese railway workers
Oh, right.
who use a system called point and call to reduce errors.
Okay.
And they literally point at things and call them out loud
Wow.
as they're doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And it forces them to be more present and mindful.
So simple,
Yeah, it is.
but effective.
Very much so, yeah.
Do you think we can apply that same principle to our own lives?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Clear suggests something called a habit scorecard,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially just a simple exercise where you list out all of your daily habits,
Mm-hmm.
both good and bad,
Okay.
and it helps you become more aware of, well, of your automatic behaviors.
So we've got this framework for understanding habits
Yeah,
and the importance of awareness.
right.
But what about our environment?
Oh, the environment, yes.
How can we change our surroundings to make good habits easier and bad habits harder?
Well, that's where this idea of environmental design comes in.
Mm,
Clear argues that our surroundings shape our behavior more than we realize.
right.
And he gives this example of a man who struggled to stop working when his home office was in the same room as his living room.
Oh, yeah.
If you're constantly surrounded by cues that trigger bad habits, it's going to be much harder to resist them.
It makes perfect sense when you put it that way.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm starting to see how our surroundings can either work for us or against us.
Very much so. And one practical tip from the book is to make the cues of good habits obvious and visible.
Cool.
So, like, you want to drink more water, leave a full water bottle on your desk.
Uh-huh.
If you want to read more, place your book on your pillow.
Right.
It's about making those good choices the easiest ones to make.
And on the flip side, to break bad habits, you need to reduce exposure to the cues that trigger them.
Exactly. So if you're trying to, eat less junk food,
Yeah.
don't keep it in the house.
Makes sense.
Or if you're trying to spend less time on social media, log out of your accounts or even delete the apps.
Right.
Out of sight, out of mind, as they say.
So simple, yet so powerful.
It really is. It's like you're setting yourself up for success
Yeah.
by designing your environment to support your desired habits.
Exactly. And, this brings us to another fascinating element of habit formation,
Okay.
and that's the role of dopamine,
Dopamine.
often called the feel-good neurotransmitter. And it plays such a crucial role in reinforcing those behaviors that lead to pleasurable outcomes.
It does.
So dopamine's all about reward and motivation.
Yeah.
But how does this play into our everyday habit?
Well, think about the food industry.
Okay.
Food scientists, they engineer processed foods to be hyper-palatable,
Yeah.
meaning they trigger a surge of dopamine,
Right.
which makes us crave them even more.
Makes sense.
And this can lead to some unhealthy eating habits.
Yeah.
Because those unhealthy foods are providing a more immediate, more intense reward.
So how can we use this understanding of dopamine to our advantage?
Well, if we want to break bad habits,
Yeah.
we need to find ways to reduce their immediate rewards
Okay.
or make those rewards less appealing.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if we want to strengthen good habits,
Right.
we can add a bit of immediate pleasure to them.
Okay.
It's all about creating a reward system that works in our favor.
I like that. It's like hacking our own brain chemistry to make those good habits more appealing.
Exactly. And speaking of making habits more appealing,
Uh,
Clearer offers this, it's a really simple technique,
mm-hmm.
but it's very powerful, called the 2-minute rule.
Oh, tell me more about that. I'm all about finding ways to make things easier,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to forming new habits.
Well, the 2-minute rule states that when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do.
Okay.
It's about overcoming that initial inertia,
Right.
that
Yeah.
resistance to getting started.
I love this. It takes the pressure off.
It does.
Instead of trying to run a marathon on day one, you just lace up your shoes
Exactly.
and step outside.
Yeah. Or instead of trying to write a whole chapter of your book, you just commit to writing one paragraph.
Yeah.
And Clear argues that once you've taken that first tiny step, it's much easier to keep going.
It's like setting yourself up for a series of small wins,
It is.
which can then build momentum.
Exactly. By focusing on those first 2 minutes, you're making it almost impossible to fail.
Yeah.
And once you've started, you're much more likely to continue.
Okay. So we've got the 2-minute rule for making habits easy to start.
Right.
But what about keeping them engaging?
Oh, that's a good point.
I know I've struggled with staying motivated when things start to feel routine or boring.
Yeah, we all do. Well, Clear has an answer for that, too.
Okay.
It's called the Goldilocks rule.
Oh, right.
Remember the fairy tale?
The porridge can't be too hot or too cold. It has to be just right.
Exactly.
Okay. So what does this have to do with habits?
Well, the Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities.
Okay.
If something's too easy, we get bored.
Yeah.
If it's too hard, we get discouraged.
So to stay motivated, we need to find that sweet spot
Yeah.
where we're being challenged but not overwhelmed.
Exactly. And Clear encourages us to view ourselves as adventurers,
Okay.
exploring this vast wilderness.
Uh-huh.
And we want to venture just outside of our comfort zone, where there's a sense of excitement and discovery,
Right.
but not so far that we feel lost or overwhelmed.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's a great analogy. I can definitely see how finding that sweet spot can make a big difference in whether we stick with a habit or not.
absolutely. It's all about finding that balance between challenge and skill.
This has been so eye-opening already.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the power of tiny gains to the 4 stages of habit to the importance of environmental design, dopamine, and finding that Goldilocks zone.
We have.
But we're just getting started.
We are. There's so much more to uncover. So stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve into even more powerful strategies for building better habits and creating lasting change.
Can't wait.
One of the things that really stood out to me in Atomic Habits was the emphasis on making good habits satisfying. It seems obvious, but I think we often get so caught up in willpower and discipline
Right.
that we forget how much our brains are wired to seek pleasure.
Yeah, you're so right. If a habit isn't enjoyable on some level, we're just fighting an uphill battle.
Exactly. And, it's like Clear says in the book, what is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that so many good habits just don't offer that immediate gratification.
Right.
It's like a delayed return environment.
It is.
Think about saving money. You're delaying spending now for a future benefit.
Right.
But the temptation to buy that shiny new gadget, oh, it's right here, right now.
Yeah, and it's tough.
It's that instant gratification versus long-term rewards dilemma.
Yeah.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we make those good habits more immediately satisfying?
Well, Clear has some clever tricks up his sleeve for this.
Okay.
One that I personally love is temptation bundling.
I've heard of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically pairing something you want to do with something you need to do.
It's like giving yourself permission to indulge in a guilty pleasure,
Yeah,
but only while you're doing something productive.
exactly. So you could only allow yourself to watch your favorite TV show while you're on the treadmill,
Oh, yeah.
or, listen to a juicy true crime podcast while you're cleaning the bathroom.
Right.
It's about making those less enjoyable tasks more appealing.
I love that. It's brilliant because you're not denying yourself the pleasure.
Right.
You're just strategically linking it to a habit you want to build.
Exactly. And another strategy that Clear suggests is celebrating those small wins.
Oh.
We often get so focused on the end goal
Uh-huh.
that we forget to acknowledge our progress along the way.
This resonates with me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone who can get, hyper-focused on the big picture
Yeah.
and miss those little victories that keep you motivated.
And those little victories are incredibly powerful, They provide a sense of accomplishment, and they reinforce that habit loop,
Yeah.
making you more likely to stick with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything big. It could be as simple as marking off a day on your habit tracker or sharing your progress with a friend.
Speaking of habit tracking,
Right.
that's another one of Clear's strategies, right?
Yes, habit tracking. There's something incredibly satisfying about visually seeing your progress.
Uh-huh.
Those little check marks or filled in boxes.
It's true.
Yeah. And it provides that sense of accountability,
Right.
which can be a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
And, you can use a habit tracker app, a journal, or even just a simple calendar.
I've found that even just crossing off days on a calendar
Yeah.
can be surprisingly motivating.
It is.
There's something about seeing those streaks add up that keeps you going.
It taps into our desire for progress and consistency.
Right.
And, along with tracking our own progress, Clear also talks about the importance of having an accountability partner.
Oh, I love this. It's
Yeah.
like having a cheerleader in your corner. Someone to celebrate your wins with and offer support when you're struggling.
Yeah, it's more than just cheering you on, though.
Oh, okay.
A good accountability partner will also provide a gentle nudge when you need it
Right.
and help you stay committed to your goals.
Yeah. And Clear even suggests creating a habit contract.
A habit contract, yeah.
It sounds serious.
Well, it is in a way.
Yep.
It's a formal agreement with your accountability partner outlining your goals, your plan of action,
Uh-huh.
and even consequences for not following through.
Okay. I'm seeing how that could add another layer of commitment.
It does.
It's like having skin in the game.
Exactly. It's about raising the stakes and increasing your motivation to stay on track.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Making habits satisfying.
Yeah.
But what happens when that initial excitement wears off, you know? We're creatures of novelty.
We are.
We crave newness and stimulation.
Right.
So how do we deal with boredom?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I know I've started countless habits with, great enthusiasm, only to lose steam when the novelty fades.
Mhm.
And, those habits start to feel mundane.
It's so true. It's that feeling of, okay, this is getting old. I'm ready to move on to the next shiny new thing.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people give up.
Right.
But Clear offers some powerful antidotes to boredom.
Okay.
And one is to focus on the process,
Mhm.
not just the outcome.
What do you mean by that?
Well, instead of obsessing over that end goal,
Okay.
like losing a certain amount of weight or running a marathon,
Uh-huh.
find ways to enjoy the journey itself.
Oh, okay.
Savor the feeling of your muscles working as you run.
Yeah.
Appreciate the camaraderie of your running group.
Uh-huh.
Enjoy the scenery along your route.
So it's about finding the joy in the doing,
Yeah.
rather than just focusing on the destination.
Exactly. And remember the Goldilocks rule.
Oh, yeah.
Well, applies here too.
Right.
If a habit starts to feel boring, it might be because it's become too easy. And you need to find ways to challenge yourself and keep things interesting.
Right. So it's about constantly pushing yourself just outside your comfort zone
Yeah.
and finding that sweet spot where you're growing and improving,
Right.
but not feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. Precisely.
And I love this analogy that Clear uses.
Okay.
He talks about finding a game where the odds are in your favor.
Yeah, I love that one.
So it's about choosing habits and activities that align with our natural abilities and interests.
Exactly. It's about recognizing your strengths
Right.
and playing to them.
Okay.
So if you're someone who loves to move your body, build habits around dancing, hiking, or playing sports.
Yeah.
If you're a creative person, build habits around writing, painting, or playing music.
So it's about working with your natural inclinations rather than trying to force yourself into a mold that doesn't fit.
Precisely. And as Claire says, genes do not determine your destiny. They determine your areas of opportunity.
I love that. So we have the power to choose the areas where we want to focus our energy and build our habits.
We do.
Now, while it's important to choose habits that align with our strengths,
Yeah.
I know there are some habits we need to develop
Hmm.
that we're not naturally good at,
Oh, yeah? Like paying bills on time.
or keeping our house tidy.
Exactly.
These aren't always the most fun or exciting habits,
Right.
but they're important for a, well-rounded life.
They are. They are. And in those cases, it's even more important to make those habits as easy and rewarding as possible.
Right.
Break them down into smaller steps, automate them if you can, or find ways to add a bit of fun or enjoyment to the process.
Okay, good tips. And Clear also emphasizes the importance of reflection and review.
Yeah.
He suggests taking time to evaluate your habits
Uh-huh.
on a regular basis
Right.
and make adjustments as needed.
He recommends reflecting on your habits at least once a quarter,
Okay.
asking yourself questions like, what went well? What didn't go so well? What did I learn? And what adjustments can I make?
It's like taking your habits in for a tune-up.
It is.
Make sure everything is running smoothly
Uh-huh.
and making tweaks where needed.
Yeah, it's a way to ensure that your habits are still serving you and helping you move towards your goal.
Exactly. And Clear doesn't just leave us hanging with these reflective questions.
No, he doesn't.
He also provides a framework for making adjustments.
He does.
I'm always up for a good framework. Tell me more about this.
Well, he breaks it down into 4 simple steps.
Okay.
Identify the habit you want to change.
Okay.
Experiment with different strategies.
Uh-huh.
Analyze your results.
Okay.
And then systematize the strategies that work best for you.
It's a cycle of continuous improvement.
It is.
We're constantly learning and growing, and our habits should evolve along with us.
Exactly. And I think one of the most important things that Clear emphasizes
Yeah.
is this difference between professionals and amateurs.
Oh, okay.
He says, professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way.
Wow. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And it's about building resilience, developing that ability to, push through those moments of resistance.
Right.
Those times when we'd rather just hit the snooze button or skip the gym.
And as Clear so eloquently puts it, the only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. You have to fall in love with boredom.
It's a reminder that mastery is not a destination.
It's not.
It's a journey.
It is.
It's about showing up day after day,
Yeah,
putting in the work, and finding the joy in the repetition.
absolutely. Now, speaking of the journey, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, but there's still more to explore.
Oh.
So stay tuned for that final part where we'll delve into the profound impact habits have on our identity and how to leverage that to our advantage.
You know, we've been on quite a journey with Atomic Habits, uncovering all sorts of strategies for building better habits.
We have.
And it's amazing how much power we have to shape our lives through these, small, consistent actions.
It really is, yeah. And as we wrap up our deep dive, there's this one concept that I think is truly transformative. The idea that our habits actually shape our identity.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah,
Cleara argues that it's not just about changing our actions, it's about changing our beliefs about ourselves.
exactly. And he says, your current behaviors are simply a reflection of your current identity.
Oh, wow.
So think about it. The things that we do consistently are a reflection of the kind of person we believe we are.
Okay, so if we want to make lasting change, we need to start by changing our self-image.
Precisely. It's about shifting our mindset from, I'm trying to be this kind of person, to, I am this kind of person.
So instead of saying, I'm trying to be more organized, I would say, I am an organized person.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift, but it can have a profound impact on your behavior.
Yeah.
When your actions are aligned with your identity, it creates this powerful sense of congruence.
Right. I can see how that would make it easier to stick with those habits because they become a reflection of who you are at your core.
Exactly, yeah. And this ties in beautifully with Clear's emphasis on focusing on systems, not goals.
Oh, right. He argues that goals are about the results you want to achieve, while systems are about the processes that lead to those results.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus from the destination to the journey.
Right.
So a goal might be to lose 10 pounds,
Yeah.
but the system is all those small habits that support that goal.
Okay.
Meal prepping healthy lunches, going for walks after dinner, tracking your food intake.
So the system is the framework that supports the goal.
Yeah.
Like the foundation for lasting change.
Precisely. And the beauty of focusing on systems
Yeah.
is that it takes the pressure off achieving any one specific outcome.
Okay.
It's about consistently following the process, trusting that the results will follow.
Like putting those habits on autopilot so you don't have to constantly rely on willpower or motivation.
Exactly. Now remember those 4 laws of behavior change that Clear lays out?
Oh, yeah.
Those are the building blocks for creating effective systems.
To recap for our listeners, those laws are make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
Yeah. Those laws are such powerful tools for hacking your habits, both for building good ones and breaking bad ones.
Right. It's like we've been given this, incredible toolkit
Yeah.
for shaping our behavior and ultimately shaping our lives.
And the best part is that it's this ongoing process of experimentation and refinement.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all formula.
Yeah.
It's about being curious, trying different things, and figuring out what works best for you.
It's like Clear encourages us to view ourselves as scientists conducting experiments on our own behavior.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about testing different strategies, tracking your progress, making adjustments along the way.
And remember, failure is not the opposite of success.
Right.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
It's through our mistakes and setbacks that we learn and grow.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up our deep dive into Atomic Habit, I think the most important takeaway is this. Small changes, compounded over time, can lead to remarkable results.
It's those 1% improvements, those tiny habits practiced consistently that can ultimately transform our lives.
Exactly. As Clear says, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
That's a good one. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Atomic Habits. We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Remember, even the smallest changes, practiced consistently, can make a world of difference.
And don't forget, the journey of self-improvement